Good evening. I'll now call the City Council meeting for Tuesday, March the 10th to order. Roll call.
Councilmember Johnson?
Here.
Holst?
Here.
Duncan?
Here.
Mattson?
Here.
Schoblum is absent. Gallops?
Here.
And Mayor Robinson.
Here. All please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're here to talk about to discuss about the development of Highway 52 subsequent to the receipt of the safety study and all the other meetings that have happened over the last few months. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of run through chronological things of things that have come out of those things, and then we'll open up for discussion up here on the board, and then kind of go on the City Council, and then we can go from there. That'll sound good to everybody? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Highway 52, we received the safety study a couple months ago, the end of January, and the safety study did conclude that there would be a 25% increase in accidents for right-in, right-outs. That's what the safety study was done for, to see what the probability of those happening would be. And then we also asked SEH to look to see if what the accident rate may be if there was just write-offs, and that came back at 23%. So those things right there show that even though we took the stoplights out, we would still have a propensity to have accidents in that area if we were to do those projects that way. And over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of accidents on Highway 52, not just here in Cannon Falls, but a lot of different places where controlled accesses are not in place. And when I mean controlled accesses, I mean overpasses and interchanges. The other thing that came out of the highway after that, we kind of asked our city engineer to just kind of throw some rough numbers together to see if we did try to do a right-in, right-out, what it would cost, because we know after we've talked with MnDOT that we would basically be on our own trying to do that project if we were to go that route. And to do that, we'd be looking at $2 million plus that the city would have to come up with on our own. Plus, we'd have to have federal highway and MnDOT's approval for everything we did. Plus, we'd have to have an environmental assessment, and that would take quite a bit of time to get done, even if it got approved. Another interchange at the north location would probably cost anywhere $15, $20, $25 million. And because of the close proximity to where the south interchange is, it probably never would be built. So, looking at that idea might not be the greatest of ideas either. The original plan from when the interchange was approved and built was to have the interchange and have the overpass going over where the north lights were. That plan was approved by Cannon Falls, Goodhue County, MnDOT, and Federal Highway. The plans have been drawn up. Other than the final tweakings and adjustings that have to be done there. There'd have to be some right-of-way purchases and a few other things. And if I'm wrong, MnDOT will correct me. But in the same token, it's pretty much, other than a few things, it's close to shovel. It's the closest thing we've got to being shovel-ready of any of the projects we've even thought about. Even for that project, we've got support from Goodhue County, from the Goodhue County Board, and from Olmsted County Board. We received letters of support from both of those folks supporting an overpass. And to lay it all out on the line, unless there's funding that comes from the bill that's going to fund any projects, there's not a whole lot that's going to happen anywhere, whether it's in Cannon Falls or anywhere throughout the state. So, I think a lot of people are waiting to see what the legislator does out there also. And, you know, the original plan, the reason the interchange got built where it did was because of the Tiger grant that we received. It was a safety grant approved by Federal Highway. And when they looked at which project should be done, the interchange was the one that was the one that got decided on, and the bridge was taken out of the project at that time for that portion of it. So that's kind of where we are with that, and I'll open it up for discussion with the council first.
Well, first I would say that the write-ins and write-outs, from a financial perspective for the city, is simply undoable. We cannot afford that. I know the overpass was originally part of the plan. They said it was because they didn't have enough money, and we can argue why that was, but we don't need to at this point. As Robbie has mentioned, that is virtually shovel ready. All we need is the money, and that's got to come through bonding at either a state or federal level. However, there was a third option I would like to have considered. I doubt if it will be, because I'm sure MnDOT will say no, but a half cloverleaf at the northern, what used to be the northern stoplight. In other words, for those of you from town here, similar to what we have at 19 and 52, and that's what I mean by a half cloverleaf, be constructed. If you look on the north side of what used to be the northern stoplight, there's plenty of room. You know, you would not have to buy a whole lot of land. Yeah, there'd be some fill, and probably some additional environmental assessments, but that might help meet the needs of some of the local businesses. However, I'm sure MnDOT would say they do not build overpasses that close to each other, except in built-up urban areas. I would respectfully disagree with that. We also have to look at the economic impact of what's happening here. While I am not opposed to the overpass, we at minimum need the overpass, but the write-ins and write-outs simply from both a safety perspective and the fact that the city would have to have 100% of the cost is simply not feasible.
Anybody else?
Well, there was one thing, though. If we were to go ahead with write-offs, ins, whatever, MnDOT has the option of closing it down. So we could spend almost $3 million to do it, and they can come later sometime and say, it's gone. Is that wise?
You know, and it's a safety issue no matter what we look at. You know, one of the other reasons to try to move forward with this is kind of, you know, and we're not going to sit here tonight and hash old stuff because we've hashed that out enough over the last few months. So we've got to look at what we're going to do going forward. I mean, how are we going to get this done, and in which way we, you know, that we probably need to go. And with that, you know, like I said, I did get 2 nice letters of support from Goodhue County and from Olmsted County, both talking about the intersections and the safety issues that the overpass will help. I mean, as Olmsted County called it, and so did Goodhue County, the unfinished business of that element of that project. We need to work on trying to get it done.
Ron, a question for you. Now, this evening, we're not here to make a formal decision. Are we just trying to get a consensus of what direction we're looking to go, or?
Well, that's completely up to council. You have the option to take action. It is a special meeting. It's wasn't labeled a workshop session as such. So it was entitled a special meeting. It is being broadcast as we do regular meetings.
Okay, because I know whichever route we go, and I've explained this before, is it's going to take probably a 2 to 4 year period before we see anything physically built in that area. So the local businesses that are having some difficulties right now have to understand that, and they're either going to, survive or they're not before any of this is done. And I can't stress that strong enough. I would guess I would like to see the council move toward a consensus where the write-ins and write-outs are out of the picture. Let's concentrate on the overpass and/or a possible half cloverleaf design, whichever, one of those two. But let's at least get rid of the one aspect that is not very practical for us.
Well, I agree that the write-in, write-outs are not a practical solution. And I would like to see a folded diamond or whatever, half diamond, whatever you call it. Is there a possibility that that could go a little bit further north from that north stoplight? Is that a possibility?
Would we not have to have a complete redesign then?
I don't know.
I was just asking for the folded cloverleaf, just because we know where the overpass is gonna be. The MnDOT's already built that into their plans.
Right, but
It's just adding the entrance and exit ramps.
what I'm concerned about is they didn't want the write-in, write-outs because of the closeness.
Right.
So would that interchange where it was set before have the same concern?
I would think if the entrance and exit ramps are on the north side, that is farther away from the existing interchange, that might help to a degree, maybe.
Well, when you're doing cloverleaf, though, I mean, you still not gonna help the people that are going northbound if you don't have anything on that side to be able to get on and off. And
No, you would still have, just like at 19, where you've got
Yeah.
an exit and an entry, both right there on either side of the highway.
so I think, but then you're gonna look at disrupting more business on that side, because it's gonna take a lot more room to put those in on those sides.
No, actually, because it would be on the north side where the businesses are not at.
But you do have the mall, you've got the
I don't think it would have.
Perkins.
to be that far north.
The bridge would be where it's,
Yeah, I think, before we even go that route, we'd have to get a design and look at it before, we could do that. The main reason that I'd like to see the overpass go in, would be the fact that we've got support. If there is gonna be a bonding bill at the Capitol this year, we can work on getting that queued up, to where it could possibly be put into the transportation bonding bill if there is one. We don't know if that's gonna happen yet. We're all sitting there waiting, trying to see what's happening up there. I think we need to go pretty much as a council, if we're gonna make a decision tonight, we need to be in one direction and going for something that we know that we can get done and be a unified council in that.
I understand that, but we should, if we're gonna put in an overpass, why not have the capability at least of putting in like we do have at 19?
I guess the question would be, for our MnDOT friends, is that a possibility if we did the overpass when the funding, as soon as that was available, and then down the road, can you add that kind of thing, to that?
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. Jeff Alamic, District Engineer with MnDOT District 6. What the current EA studied is that overpass, and all those impacts have been addressed. Now, we never looked at anything to the north, and if you're talking about building access to the highway to the north, that would all have to be relooked at for environmental impacts. and whether it could physically fit in there with the current terrain and what's in place in the river and everything that's in that area, I don't know. You'd have to really do kind of an engineering study and look at that to see if that would fit. Just like we did when we kind of looked at the whole corridor and we looked at multiple options and locations for the current interchange, we would have to do something similar to that.
Okay, if we put in the overpass where it was slated to go in the previous years, could we add to that? If we go ahead with this study, could we add an interchange like we have at 19? Is that a possibility? Yes or no? That's all I need.
It could be studied. I can't answer whether it could be or not because I don't know what those environmental impacts would be, and I don't know whether the physical conditions out there will allow it. And we'd also have to look at the overpass itself as to whether we would need turn lanes on that bridge then, and then it would maybe require a wider bridge or something. So to do that, it would may mean looking at that whole bridge design again to see if it would accommodate an interchange.
We only have a 2-lane bridge going over at 19.
That's correct.
That's all we would need.
The state highway.
Yep, it is only a 2-lane bridge over there on 19.
It
This
is.
is County.
And the lanes to get off or get on the expressway are actually on the other side of the bridge and on this side of the bridge, so.
But I think you really need to look at a traffic analysis to see how much traffic you're going to have using those ramps and using that interchange and wanting to make lefts and rights off of that to see if it really would meet current design standards to be able to just build that without having turn lanes.
But you cannot here this evening definitively rule out the possibility of adding.
I can't rule it out, but I can't say yes either because I think, like I said, it would take additional study to make that happen.
Okay.
So that'd take
other
time and
piece-
money later on.
The other challenge that we have is it wouldn't meet our current access guideline spacing, so.
Well, yeah, and I
We'd have to Look for an
understand.
exception to make something like that happen.
Right.
then. So,
Well, we got the roundabouts and that wasn't in the plans. The plans was an interchange, a regular interchange instead of the roundabouts.
No, the interchange, when the final design came in, was with the roundabouts.
When the final design came.
When the design that got approved by the council was with the interchange, was with the roundabouts.
Correct.
Okay, another question. Are we going to have exit signs that are numbered? You know, like exit 42 Cannon Falls or exit 36 or whatever? Are we going to have those?
Yep.
We are?
I'm not so sure that the work order hasn't already been written to have those installed. I
Yep.
just don't know if we've got
It has been.
the signs made yet.
And it'll also be incorporated in the signage for the new interchange up County Road 86.
Okay. And will you also have signs that, I understand the businesses have to pay for signage on the freeways, I understand that. But will you have a sign that says food, lodging, gas? Like your blue informational signs?
Council, my name is Mike Schwein. I'm the district traffic engineer, and I was involved with the safety study and many of the signing issues that have come up. If I could ask you to clarify your question, when you're talking about the blue signage, are you referring to up at the new County Road 86?
Or like our interchange down here? Mm-hmm. Are you gonna put up a sign that says food, lodging, gas?
Yeah, those are in place now.
Okay,
Yep.
I haven't been down that way, so.
Yeah, that's okay. Those are called general motor service signs.
Right.
And the intent of those signs is just to tell the driver that if you need this service, if you need gas, lodging, or food, that this is the exit to take. And then those signs also tell you whether you need to go left or right or both for food or lodging.
Right.
And those are general motor service signs. Those are not signs that the business has to pay
Right.
for.
Right. And then the exit signs, are they gonna have numbers on them? So I can tell people you have to exit at exit 36 to come to my business?
You bet.
Okay.
That's something that has come up. I was responsible for the original design of the signage, and back at that time, we decided not to number the interchanges, or to provide exit numbers at this interchange, just because we weren't sure it was necessary. But at this time, we do have a work order already in place to add that information. And then we've also verified it. We've reviewed the signing plan for the upcoming County Road 86 interchange. And it will be incorporated there too as well.
When is that gonna be built?
That'll be built this summer.
What,
Sorry. Which one?
It's Dakota County's leading that, I think it's 16.
Okay.
Michael, as of today, I received the same information that it looks like final construction will not be until 2016 due to some scheduling challenges. That came today.
Okay.
on a further question on the signage, I know we've had some individuals, you know, because we got, we got two circles on each side. There's some confusion on which circle they get off of to go to a business or not. So is that being addressed also?
We've talked about signage issues and concerns, you know, with the city, and also some with the county. The county engineer has brought up some questions. The way it's currently signed is the way that we feel is the most appropriate and is the best in terms of looking at our standards. What we do have in place now is currently at each of we labeled the signs as frontage roads, you know, so if you go to the outer west or outer east roundabout, you know, it just says frontage roads. The reason we did that is we wanted it to be a generic designation because the street name had just changed, you know, to 4th Street South, and so those signs are in place. What I did is back, you know, just recently, because it's a system of 4 roundabouts, I realized that maybe that's creating an issue for some people, that maybe if it was just 2 roundabouts and then regular intersections, maybe they'd be able to, but I did verify that we have other locations where there are 4 roundabouts, you know, in a row. And I do understand it might be more challenging for some people. But the signage that we have up there now is what we feel is the right solution. We have talked with the city about possibly adding, we're actually still in the discussion stages, you know, with city staff about how to supplement things there. One of the challenges is that there's not a lot of room between the roundabouts, and there's also, the roundabouts themselves aren't very big. And you can only fit so much signage in there. One of the challenges is that drivers, of course, can only absorb so much information. And one of the fundamentals of traffic engineering is, you know, providing some distance between signage so the drivers can see the sign, absorb it, and not miss a sign that just went by. These roundabouts are particularly challenging because of the legs and just the lack of room. Okay. So that's a very long and convoluted answer to your question, and so I'm sorry that I wasn't more to the point. But basically, the signage that's there now is what we, for the most part, intend to leave in place. But if the frontage road signs, if we decide as a community to change those from generic frontage road to what the name of that street is, we can talk about that. But originally, they weren't named because the names of those streets weren't set in stone, and even if people just wouldn't know how to get around anyway.
Right. Well, locals eventually learn, and that's not an issue, but it's an issue for someone just coming off of 52 and going, oh, and all of a sudden they end up back on 52 because they didn't have the correct signage to tell them where to go. So that's my concern.
And I'm trying to think of different details of like a person's trip and where they're trying to go. The General Motor service signage, you know, when you exit, and let's say if you're looking for gas, food, or lodging, and if you don't know the area, those signs do point you in certain directions. And then even once you enter those outer roundabouts, the signage directs you there as well. And so that, let's say if you were going to the Dairy Queen, that signage, leads you that general direction. And so hopefully a driver wouldn't just go around the first roundabout that they came to without, continuing west to the west roundabout or east, vice versa.
I've driven it. Whenever I go places, if I'm coming back from a visit somewhere, I to drive the roundabout, and more the signage is there. I mean, and if you follow the signs, I mean, it's simple to go to the right place. I mean, you just got to follow the signs. I mean, and you're still going to have people that the first time they may spin off and go back on Highway 52, but for the most part, if they follow the signs, I mean, they can get to the businesses on the south side. The other reason to try to get the overpass done would be to, go ahead and connect the other side of, the west side of the businesses on the west side of 52, so we don't have that peninsula over there. And also we mentioned too the safety purposes for ambulances, fire trucks, police officers to try to get that. So I mean, that would give us that other piece to try to get to connect those areas over there. Once we get the interchange done, then we can start looking at, I mean, which we already are, but I mean, then we can concentrate on our economic development even more on the south side, which we've already started to do. I mean, we've got folks in town, and I know the Economic Development Authority and everybody is working to do what we can do to try to help those businesses, try to promote more businesses coming into town, especially on the south side and downtown, because the more we get, the easier or the better it's going to be for everybody.
Well, I just know the council, I believe, should at least push for the overpass, and then hopefully maybe something added down the road. But let's try and get some funding in place, because we know that is shovel ready with a few tweaks. All we need now is St. Paul or Washington to give us the money we need to complete the project.
The state has a surplus. That's what I keep hearing.
Yes, they do.
Anybody else? Does anybody else want to address the council on this evening?
Thank you. I'm Dick Peterson, 31659 Willow Trail, which sounds a lot more exotic than 31659 County 24 Boulevard. But I live in the same place. I'm going to be the contrarian here. I think we've all complained about the bridge to nowhere at Pine Island. This would be another one. It's really not going to help anybody. I might get home a minute and a half quicker. There might be two other people that might get home a little bit quicker, but actually those roundabouts work. And even if you go around back to the north on 24, that's what people are going to do. They're not going to go on that overpass. I don't believe in spending taxpayer dollars, whether they're city dollars, state dollars, federal dollars. They're my dollars either way. To spend $8 million or whatever the number is on an overpass that really doesn't help anything, to me defies logic. I think the whole point is to help the businesses that are suffering out there, and this does not address that. I think the city needs to look at lighting, signage. You know, if you go around those roundabouts, if you're coming from the south, it says Cannon Falls. Where? There's no sign telling you how to get to Cannon Falls if you want to go downtown Cannon Falls. I think there's a lot bigger issues in this overpass, and I think it's a boondoggle. Thank you.
Anyone else? Come to the mic.
I'm Larry Dammer. I've spoken before, read some things before regarding this issue, and I guess I'm going to be a counter-contrarian, I guess, here. My feeling is, I guess you look at, you've touched on a lot of things tonight, I think that are kind of, nipping around what we should be looking at here. Number one, safety. everybody's concerned about that. You know, safety to me on this highway out here on 52, and there's been a lot of accidents, a lot of deaths for one reason or another, some we don't know about yet. But, you know, the way it seems to me to prevent those accidents is exit and entry at speed. I think MnDOT would agree with that. But, you know, entry and exit at speed. You know, these right-in, right-outs, you know, it's a great idea for having people come in, you know, to the businesses and so on, but I agree with the fact that you'd be slowing down probably in the lane, and there's a real contrast in speed. There'd be some rear-end crashes out there. I get that. I agree with that. But the interchange situation here as to where it should be, you know, with at the old site there. We are trying to make this decision inside this room with the people who are here. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people outside this room that would be in favor of that interchange. I've taken a poll of an awful lot of people in this town about, well, you know, just as conversation, what do you think of the interchange? And I can't repeat the language in a lot of it, but they are not happy with those roundabouts out there. They just are not happy with those. They create a lot of confusion, and yes, the locals will learn it. There's no question. You know, we'll figure it out. We've got it figured out. But it's the number of people that commute from Rochester to the cities and so on. A number of new people to the area there that have a lot of trouble with them, a lot of trouble. And you know, it's just a factor to consider. So safety, you know, there's been letters in the paper about safety and so on, but you take those cars off that highway at speed on an exit ramp, you put them on the highway at speed at an entrance ramp, you're going to minimize the accidents. Would you agree or disagree with that? Yeah. You'd agree with that. Fine. You know, we've got, you know, just in kind of a informal poll or informal information, there's 3 different instances that people have told me of people backing up on the entrance ramp to 52. So they go around a roundabout, they might be going, they might be northbound on 52, exit into Cannon Falls, get on the first roundabout and find themselves on 52 going north. So they back up to try to figure out what they did wrong to try to get to McDonald's or Super America or Subway, wherever they're going there. 3 instances. So you've got people backing up into traffic. That to me is a safety issue. I don't know about anybody else. You know, we've already had the accident of the person trying to get from one side of the road to the other. And of course a bridge of some sort would help that situation. But again, we don't know what happened out there, and I guess I don't understand why, after 3 weeks, we don't understand why the guy was trying to cross the highway. So I don't know where that information is, but you know, we've talked endlessly about the businesses. You know, it's an absolute disaster for those businesses not to have some access closer. You've talked about signs. You know, signs are always a good idea. There's no question. And the prettier they are, the better they are. However, when you're traveling that highway at speeds of 70, 75 miles an hour, you're exiting the ramp, you're watching traffic in front of you, behind you, and also the people on the roundabouts are trying to get somewhere. You know, the signs are not necessarily the first thing you're looking for here. So they're just trying to get in where the intuition tells them these businesses should be. And you know, I think that's an issue. And the speed is just a factor all the time out there. I mean, you got to build it to get out of everybody's way, you know. And the emergency vehicles, you know, of course, if there's a bridge across that, we know about that issue. You know, that would just make it easier for them to get to the west side, no question. You know, I've had occasion, not by my choice, to do some doctoring down in Rochester. There, I've talked to a number of people over the last 6 months, medical people, doctors, pharmacists, nurses. You know, and they like the conversation of this Cannon Falls access here. Let's talk about that. What happened? That's what they said. How come we can't get into Cannon Falls anymore? And it's a problem. You know, it is a problem.
But you can get into Cannon Falls. All you got to do is follow the signs and come around the roundabouts.
That's what I tell them. That's what I tell them. But they'll repeat also that, you know, for them to get off and to drive 1 mile to the restaurants and so on that are there is a factor. This is just what they're saying.
Well, you know, I've traveled all over the country, and when you get off at different interchanges all over the country, it may be a sign up there that says McDonald's this way, gas station this way. You might drive half a mile to a mile just to get to it. It's not just in Cannon Falls.
I agree. But when you travel across the country, you'll also find recognition of businesses at the interchanges. You wouldn't even need the signs if you had the interchange where it ought to be. With the McDonald's and with the Super America, with the Subway, with the businesses there, they wouldn't even pay attention to the signs because they know it's there and that's where they get off.
Okay, but at this point, we have the interchange, and we're just going to have to do what we've got to do to sign it, to direct people into Cannon Falls, let them know we're not closed, and we got to go forward. Because Larry, we're not going backwards. We're not going to go backwards, and that interchange is there to stay.
I understand that is your opinion. What would be real curiosity to me is to have a little bit of a vote in this town as to what people would think here. I understand that's your position, and some others here. But I'm real curious about whether you'd have the courage to ask the people in this town what they think and what the fix should be here. As far as money is always the issue. We understand that. I've heard lots of people say, well, MnDOT wouldn't do this, MnDOT would. I haven't heard what MnDOT is saying, what they're going to be doing here. Let them make up their mind where the funding is. You know, projects are always ongoing in the state, and projects get pushed back and moved aside and rescheduled. We just heard about one on 86 got pushed back. Well, why is that? You know, what happened? Did some funding get shifted around, or what happened there? I think it would be interesting to know what that situation is. It's a constant funding situation, I think. You know, and there's some projects that go and some don't, and some get rescheduled and so forth. You know, I guess what we just need to, you know, hope that there could be some that are rescheduled early, you know, enough to fix this issue. So I guess that's what I would have to say. One other thing, I was just doing a little sketching here on this issue with closeness of the exits on the highway. I know that's a factor. That's a good factor. If you exit the highway, you don't want to be somebody. Or if you're entering the highway, you don't want to have somebody exiting the highway right in front of you. I get that. But it's a full mile. It's a full mile from the old Highway 24 to the end of the last ramp going off the new interchange. It's a full mile by my odometer anyway. And one thing I would suggest is to remove the southbound exit ramp on 52 and the northbound entrance ramp. Just remove that and use a new interchange that would service that area out there. That would remove that problem, in my opinion. There's sketches I've drawn and just given to some people there. It seems to me that would make some sense. But that's really all I have to say.
Thanks, Larry. Anyone else? Okay, well, if no one else wishes to address the council, we can either come to a consensus to at least move forward with the overpass to work on getting some funding and hope that in the future that if we wanted to go another way at that point, that later on in life we could maybe look at it again years down the road. I mean, once the overpass goes in, I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, but I mean, still, I mean, it's something that could be looked at in the future.
Mayor?
Yes.
I was just wondering, it's just a thought, with the roundabouts, is there any way that we could take away one roundabout in the middle, or would that be an issue? Oh, okay.
I don't think those are going to go anywhere. They were set up there they were designed that way for the traffic control up on that interchange.
Okay.
When they designed it. I mean, a lot of engineering went into that.
Okay.
Well, as I said before, I think we should move forward with seeing if we can get funding. Remember, the overpass was the original finishing touch to this whole project, the interchange, et cetera. we should at least do that, push for funding. If we get it sooner rather than later, great, but let's move on. The write-ons and write-offs are just, safety-wise, just is not gonna work for us.
I agree.
Do we want to have a motion to move forward to, with the overpass?
So moved.
And I will
Second
second.
Who made the motion?
I
Merle.
Okay, got a motion by Merle, second by Bill, to move forward with trying to get the overpass funded and complete the project as it was designed. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Well, thanks everyone for coming tonight. That was the only thing on the agenda this evening was the transportation. Just to let folks know, we are working hard to of everything. I know the businesses are struggling, and we'll keep working hard to help every business and everybody we can going forward.
I think the signage will help greatly, and if businesses can say exit at such and such number and take the first roundabout, go a half a mile, there I am. I think that's the biggest thing that they can do for their businesses, is to start promoting it. Start telling people how to get to it.
All right, if there's nothing else, Chair will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.